Greetings and welcome. This is PsychicMediumRoberto, and welcome to Intuitive Sundays, a podcast series looking at true crime, world events, and mysterious cases. And what a week this has been. Notwithstanding my personal issues, if you've been watching real time in terms of health, then retrograde hands in a heat wave and nothing like the brain frying. So recording this on Sunday morning, the 8th of December, 6:30 a.m. in the morning. I can just, before we get into it, we're going to look at quite a few things here. And I'm just going to say, from a retrograde perspective, I do need to tread lightly. In fact, based on yesterday's experience, I had recorded an entire episode yesterday, which was, if you're real time, was going to come out Saturday. But I spotted an error, which, so I had to delete it. So I've been meditating on all these particular cases for a while now. We're going to be looking at Ruth and Amy's cases. Ruth on the left-hand side, unfortunately, went missing in 1973. And only now recently, 51 years later, we now know her name is Ruth, because for 51 years, she was referred to as a Jane Doe. Now, we'll get into that. Interestingly, I had started working on the Amy case approximately probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, because latest news on her case is that there's new DNA evidence found on the blanket or clothing. I believe it's clothing. I've got the info later, we'll share it. So I actually prepared her case based on that news report. And for whatever reason, I've been trying to do her case for like 3 or 4 weeks now. Or 3 or 4 attempts at least. And it just wouldn't let me. Spirit wouldn't let me. And then when Ruthie's case came out, and I did her number profile on her discovery day versus Amy's discovery day, there is a very significant match here. So I'm just wondering whether the perpetrator who is responsible for 73's murder of Ruth is linked also to the 89 case of Amy. We'll get more detail when we get there. We're going to be looking at the Hitman scenario. This was actually the episode I recorded yesterday. So I just made some fixes, and we're going to be looking at that today. Very peculiar case. Very peculiar case. We'll get into those details. The current news now, as far as I understand it, the police believe they know who this hitman is. They've identified him already, but not releasing his details to the public, because they obviously they don't want to give him a clue or a heads up, right? The reason why I was recording the episode yesterday, and even doing it today for that matter, at the time when the case broke, I thought of doing the case, but I thought, you know what? New York Police Department know what they are doing, and I'm not being sarcastic. They really do. I rate, there's been very good documentaries on the New York Police Department, notwithstanding the Blue Brother issues and all the background shenanigans, yes. But when it comes to catching a criminal, they are top notch. So that's the reason why I wasn't going to do the case. But when I started looking at the numbers yesterday and the day before, there's something very interesting. And the reason why I was going to do the case was when the discovery of the backpack was announced. That the announcement of that piqued my interest, because that for me is very weird. That a so-called hitman would leave all these clues, the bottles, the wrappers. I mean, living in a hostel with people. So do we call him a hitman? Anyway, And there's some interesting information behind the numbers about this crime here. And I believe in the background he is working with someone. And that particular someone, whether directly or indirectly, has feminine energy, confirmed. Trust me, I learned the hard way to confirm that. The two devils in the east, Vladimir Satan and Zing Satan, are they involved in a bit of saboteuring? So we're going to look at the two Satans and see what they're up to. We already know they're operating in London when we did a couple of cases there. Both of them working hand in hand in London. And we got a hive of activity, obviously, in Canada, port entries. And of course, there's been numerous recent discoveries lately with Chinese hot houses there, spies in the Hutu, as it were, right? Let me just explain. Spies in the Hutu is actually a documentary series of the Korean War. I used to manage a terrestrial channel, satellite digital channel, which was primarily documentaries. And for whatever reason, whenever I think of spies, I always think of that title, Spies in the Hutu. So Vladimir Satan and Zing Satan are working hand in hand. But we're going to look at the numbers around the cables being destroyed there in the Baltics. And we're going to look at the unfortunate DHL crash. And let's see whose fingerprints are on there and who's working behind the scenes and who are actually the operators on the ground, as we have done in London, Canada, New York even as well, all these Chinese hot houses. I received a message from Hannah, I believe, or around Hannah's case, shortly after the third episode. So I'm just going to speak a little bit on that as well today. And then news coming out, Malik cancelled, Zayn Malik cancelled one of his concerts recently in the last few days. We're going to look at the numbers and see what that says, because this is obviously hot off the heels of Liam's passing as well as funeral. And of course, they were very close for many years. All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's get rid of the laundry. Trigger warning, the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. Disclaimer, all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. All right, I just got tingles all over me now when I looked at this picture. Moments before sunrise in New York, a lone gunman steps out behind the CEO of United Medical Insurance. And unfortunately, I watched the whole video. There is a video out there where you see the whole action from start to finish. Of course, they blur out, unfortunately, Brian Thompson. So, shooting Brian Thompson, they blur it out. Now, he takes a couple of shots, and not to trigger anyone, but he takes a couple of shots, gun jams. You see it actually jamming. He fixes, he tries to, I've never owned a gun, obviously trying to clear the way of the bullet. Tries to shoot again, still jammed, fixes it, tries to clear the way, and then continues shooting. Now, the initial impression about this guy is, so let's ask the question, why would someone risk his identity being known? Because only an idiot would stay in a hostel full of people, right? Not a hitman. Only an idiot would leave a bottle with, they're saying it's a smudge fingerprint, maybe there's a partial, but there could be DNA around the mouth, saliva, a wrapper, that he would even unmask himself while flirting at the counter. So, one could say, yes, he achieved his objective in that There's a plan in play, and he comes out and he comes to find Brian, right? He effectively achieved his objective. But why would he expose himself? And particularly the backpack issue. That for me piqued my interest, because why would... And then now, before recording, I was just checking latest information. There's monopoly money in the bag. That bag, so if we look at the backpack, which was discovered December 6, the outcome of that day, there's a 26-8. So that's a staging. And I felt that that bag was a staging. Now that there's monopoly money in there, what are they trying to say? So what I did, on the chart here, I've got the arrival date. So he's believed to have arrived on November 24. Now on November the 24th, we are seeing 3 8s, so there's already chaos in the air. Someone coming into town like a whirlwind type situation. When you have too many of the same numbers on the same day, things are out of kilter. The devil has arrived in town, right? Type thing. Now, the outcome of that day when he arrives into New York the first time, because apparently he leaves again and then comes back a day later, whatever it was. The outcome of that day is a 16-7, which is about assassination. 16-7, in the Trump episodes, we saw assassination, 16-7. On the event morning, December the 4th, there's a 16-7 in the day. So that says, yes, there was an assassination. But what really piqued my interest, because clearly it's an assassination, right? But numerology has shown us 16-7 in the day. 12 from December the 12th plus the 4 gives us the 16-7. Now, there's been speculation whether there's other people involved or not, and I'm going to put my head on the block, and all protocols observed in the universe and astrology and astronomy, where we find the planets today. 4 in an operation point of view, in this case, someone planning, coming out, doing the deed and escaping. This guy was instructed to do this, in my opinion. 4 at the start of the day. So the shooting takes place, don't quote me on the exact time, but around 6:30-ish in the morning. Sun hasn't even risen yet. So 12-3 is in play, 4-8. 12-3, there's a community. 4 is an instruction, in my opinion. Or we can also say 4 is an order. And then 8, communication. And this came up strong as well. The incident, I believe, with Brian. There's a message being sent out to whoever needs to hear this message. 1. This is about... I don't even think it's about necessarily Brian per se, but perhaps the industry. And the reason why I say this, the event day, in the +6, the day starts then with a 10-1. 10-1 is the number for insurance, payouts, or lack of payout. 10-1, big money. 10-1 is big money. Okay? And denotes insurance. It can even indicate wills. Anything that is paid out, but in a large sum. Not $100, we're talking potentially millions here, right? So the day in the event, there's an instruction. It's about big money. And there's even a hidden 22-4 Now we're looking at the event day, right? When this all goes down, we're trying to get information as to what is the motive, why, when, how, all this kind of stuff, right? There's a hidden 22-4. Now, on one hand, we can say there's a hidden agenda, and I believe this is to be the case, unfortunately. There is more people involved here in the background. 22-4 can speak about hidden agenda, but it also speaks about, now we're in the medical sector, right? I'm going to take us into the medical center. 22-4 medical center. So was there an issue about a payout at a facility that caused a death? 13-4 is right there. 13-4, there was a death around this. Now, on one hand, we can say, yes, there was a death on this day because Brian was taken out. But now we're looking in the reflective 369 to get information why he was taken out. We know he was taken out. There's it there, 16-7. Okay. And it ends with a 6, which speaks about bullets, guns. The interesting thing, it ends with 24-6, 15-6. So for whatever reason, there is some sense of familiarity to Brian. Now, here's something that I find peculiar. The outcome of the event day in the +6 says there's a 30, outcome 3. 3, 0, outcome 3. Now, on one hand, 33 can speak about a woman that is in distress. It can speak about a woman, it would be a dominant woman, male, female figure, that has an outburst. Now, that's on the behavioral level, in the +6 of the event day. So now it's starting to give us information. Why did this happen? Who's involved? Why is there's a feminine energy presence behind the scene? Once again, I'm just keeping myself humble. We are guided. I'm blessed by Spirit and guided by Spirit. But what I was trying to do this morning was just connect with the energy of retrograde at the moment. And in my opinion, it's quite slick, very deceptive. So I've got to tread lightly. I'm just reminding myself. I remain humble in the presence of Spirit. There's definitely a feminine energy in the background. Now, if we flip it and we go medical, 30 outcome 3 can speak about medication, but that kind of medication, 30 outcome 3 speaks about cancer. It speaks about, what is it that they take? Chemotherapy. 33 can bring around the concept of chemotherapy. So was someone denied treatment? And as a result of that treatment, or lack of treatment, beg your pardon, the following, in the +9, we see there was a death, 13-4. Which brought around, one could say, the assassination, 16-7, it's there. But I'm getting another peculiar number. 25, hidden, still in the event day in the +9. There was a death that brought around the assassination, 16-7. But there's a hidden 25-7. So there was an issue somewhere. So clearly there was an issue. That is guaranteed. Now, when you get a 25/7, that becomes quite a, if we take it on a personal level, that's quite an intimate number. That's an issue between people that are quite intimate here. Could it have been this guy's wife that died? I dare even say even a child maybe, eh? Now, there are two conflicts. If I had to look at this, look at the charts from the event day and the discovery of the backpack holistically, there are two conflicts, and they're the same conflicts. We've got a 12-3, 12-3 conflict. So actually, on a medical level, 12-3 can speak about patient care. 12-3 can be the nursing, that environment. So there's something very connected here. And we have that facility in play, 22-4. So did someone, someone was denied access. And not to stray off the topic, but it's part of the topic, or on the case rather. South Africa's going through that now. We're going to get our own NHI system. There's the NHI in the UK, but just overall, right? When we're talking about medical insurance, and I've had the unfortunate experience of experiencing, there's nothing more embarrassing. On one hand, embarrassed. Also from a needs basis where you need care, but you can't get care because you're not paying for the right package, or you're not paying enough on your package. And all respect to Brian and his counterparts and his colleagues and his family and friends. The issue around medical care has become more of a monetary gratification than health care. Now, the monopoly money has just flashed through my brain. It just flashed in front of me. That backpack, the 26-8, was a staging. So I actually asked the question yesterday, why would someone, you get dumb criminals, right? Why would someone risk their identity? I mean, clearly he doesn't care if he gets caught then, as he got nothing to lose. Or there's been mention with some of the outlets that he wants to be caught, or some of the profilers are saying that based on this guy's behavior, he wants to be caught. Are we going to get a message from him? Because look here, when he arrived in New York for the first time, November the 24th, in the 72 profile, we've got a 44-8. This is sending a message out. But there's definitely feminine energy here. And I do believe it's more than one person involved here as well. See, even in the arrival day, the day before, there's a hidden 34-7. That speaks about, this could be like, I almost want to say a husband loses his wife because she was denied cancer treatment, something in that line, and she passes, and of course now the husband's coming to seek revenge. There's definitely a message being sent here. So I would just conclude and say, because I've got to watch the time, there's definitely, this is about the medical industry and insurance. It's not a personal hit on Brian per se. And if this number here in the backpack sequence, when the backpack was discovered, in the +9, there's a 35-8. Now, from what I believe with Brian's type of murder, yes, 17-8 homicide, I would go as far as saying it is a 26-8 crime in that he was shot with many bullets, so it would be quite a detrimental impact on the body, quite violent, yes, but it's not a 35-8 crime scene. So could this happen again and escalate it in terms of violence? Because there's a 35-8 here, and that's not a good number. There's definitely a message being sent out here, and there's conflicts with communities here as well. The rich versus the poor, and the poor are sitting at the entrance of the hospital. If only I had taken last month's insurance premium and paid it, then I'd be able to save my life. But because they don't care in life and death, they care about, is the money in the account, yes or no? Now, had they saved that person, I'll pay you the next day, right? Of course, we know there are people that are scammers and so on, or whatever. But, there's nothing worse when you're needing care. And I've actually experienced it recently, 3 years ago, during the sick years. Things were a bit rough. Get to the doctor, sorry, can't help you, but you have to leave even though you got all of this pain happening, right? Motherfuckers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hop, skip, and jumping. Is there a link between Ruth Benham's case and Amy Miljevic's case? Now, this is very interesting. I started working on Amy's case, and then Ruth's case came out. So let's have a look at Ruth. Now, unfortunately, Ruth was discovered on October the 10th. The exact time of when she went missing is scarce at this point. I mean, it was only discovered a few weeks ago who Ruth is. But it's estimated that she would have, it was early on in the beginning of the school year, and in 1973, the school year began on August the 20th. So between August the 20th, and they say the body unfortunately was badly composed, so it would have been fairly soon after the abduction that the perpetrator would have murdered her, unfortunately. But the date span would start from August the 20th. That's in 1973 in the US. And Ruth comes out of York County, if I'm not mistaken. I've got a map here. York County, but her body was discovered in, in Pennsylvania, near Fort Indianatown Gap. Now, the reason why I believe the two cases are connected, the only constant I have in the case, because we don't know when Ruth went missing at this point. We, of course, know when Amy went missing. But the constant that we have here is the 2 discovery days. Okay? Now, according to reports, Ruth goes missing on the way to school in the morning. Amy supposedly gets a phone call to meet someone, or there was telephonic conversation. She goes from school to a local shopping center in the Bay Village area, and she is seen standing outside a shop, and then at some point someone says they saw her speaking to someone. Then she goes missing. She is discovered 3 months later, unfortunately, and Ruth was also found 2 to 3 months after the incident. Now, when I was looking at Amy's case, there are many operational numbers around here. A lot of 1910 ones, 10 ones. We see the day of her discovery, February the 8th, 1990. There's a 10-1, 10-1 conflict. The day Ruth is discovered on October the 10th, 1973, we see a 10-1, 10-1 conflict. And there should be a plus there. Retrograde. The additional conflict with Ruth is we have a 11-2-2 conflict and an 11-2-22 conflict. I would say if there is a link, because there's no coincidence that there's a direct link like this with all the 1910s. There's she's also got the 33. Both have a 33. There is something that connects these two cases. Now, what I'm going to do is there's a potential suspect linked to Amy's case. Okay? Both cases are busy being worked on currently as we speak. There's a potential suspect to Amy's case linked to this place. Beg your pardon. The Lake Erie Nature and Science Center. This center here, which is an environmental center, is right next door in the same proximity where Amy went missing. Now, there's a belief that the person involved may have at some point worked at this place. Obviously, the place is not responsible, but someone worked at this place. So what I've done a timeline hack into this facility. They had an event night, a night for nature, Friday, April 26, 2024. To see if there's any links or connection. Now, this is how it works. All the numbers in green, if you're watching visually, are matches with each case, and they are numerous in both cases. The ones that are purple are more linked to Ruth, and the ones in blue are more linked to Amy. But they also share a common number, a red number 9 each. Ruth discovery sequence, 72 hours. Amy, 72 hours discovery, share a common number as well, and number 9 with this hack date. So this for me is very concerning. When we've got this many matches, then there's no doubt at all. So I'm saying the potential suspect they do have, I don't believe they've named the person, they said might have worked in this place here, is related to Amy's case. Yes, I say yes. But there's too many similarities. There's significant similarities between Amy and Ruth. So could the same person who unfortunately took Ruth's life involved with Amy's case as well? And whoever this person is has some level of operational standing, whether it's at local government level, but certainly has credentials of importance. But there are a lot of matches. So the main matches are, of course, the 10 ones, including the 1910 ones. We've got the 12-3 and hidden 33 in both cases. That's present at the facility. The 11-2s are also present in all three. Now, when we start with numerology, we can argue, yeah, but there, of course, anyone can have an 11-2, anyone can have a 12-3, right? Once the numbers start getting higher, larger, so in the case of the timeline hack at the facility, we see a 39-12-3. Now that now starts becoming unique in that the sample pool starts getting reduced of who has that number. And when we look at the discovery day of Ruth, the day before, within the 72-hour zone, there is a 39-12-3. In the case of Amy, on her discovery day, we see a 29-11-2. In the 72-hour scan of the facility, we see a hidden 29-11-2. So is there a connection between Ruth's case? Now remember, Ruth has been unidentified for 51 years. There are a lot of similarities. The key turning number for me in the case of Ruth and Amy is the 9, because I'll just show you here. If you go to Amy's abduction day, October 27, 1989, I've got a 72-hour scan of her abduction day. We see triple 27 9. That is maniacal. That is death on steroids in a given aspect, and unfortunately we find it here in Amy's case. 27-9 is premeditation. Of course, it wasn't random. There's other evidence suggests that she may have had contact with this person before the actual abduction day. There's talk that there was a voice over the telephone. There's another case as well where that was done as well. I can't remember that case for now. But there's another similar case. Also, a child goes missing after getting a phone call. 38-11-2. Remember, this is 1989 here. 38-11-2 speaks about telephonic exchange. In Ruth's case, the day before, so let's just say 2 days before she's discovered, we find again 38-11-2. There are too many matches. We see even in the 72-hour scan of abduction for Amy, the very next day we have a 10-1-10-1 conflict. Ruth originates out of York County, gets found in Pennsylvania, which is about 2.5 hours drive to Bay Village. Now, keep in mind, the case is separated by a number of years. But it would be interesting to note that the suspect they do have in mind for Amy whether that suspect is related to Ruth's passing as well, unfortunately. So we'll keep an eye on the news, but there are too many similar numbers and key identifying numbers in that case. So now we get on to the two Satans of the East, Vladimir Satan, and we got Xi Jinping Satan, causing havoc in the world for us, are they? Are they wanting world domination? I may have mentioned this before, but if you hadn't heard it, I was in a 7-hour trance with the intention of finding a missing person, and these two guys came up in a vision. So let's keep an eye on, because we know they're already operating all over the world. No surprise. On previous episodes that I've done, we've picked both working together, Chinese and Russian, where the one being, let's say, operational on the ground and the other with the instruction. We have two incidents recently. The Baltic Sea cable's been cut between Sweden and Lithuania, and then we've got the down DHL cargo plane in Lithuania. For the cables that have been cut, November the 16th, there's clear evidence of Russian as well as Chinese numbers all over this. So nothing obviously gets done without Putin's say-so, and we know he's got those 17-8s. So all over the place here, lots of 17-8-8s, Putin. And we have the 16-7 in presence as well, which is China. So there's evidence here as well in the Baltic Sea, in my opinion, that Russia and China colluded, because there's a hidden 28-10-1. That is political discussions in the background as well. 37-10-1, there's definitely operational. Evidence does suggest China on behalf of Russia in the case of the cables being cut there in the Baltic Sea. Now, unfortunately, this DHL cargo flight, fortunately only one person perished, but unfortunately one perished, 3 injured, lots of damage. The day the accident happens, November 25th, 2024, recently, we see a 44-8. This is the famous Russian number, 44-8. The higher you go, the more likely you're going to see it. Russia has a 44-8 outcome. So the outcome of the day of the crash, 44-8, 35-8. 8 is all mechanics, engineering, but a lot of destruction. Russia has the identical number, so this falls squarely on Russia. There's no doubt whatsoever. No doubt whatsoever. And I believe it's only Russia in this case, not China. But certainly very alarming that Putin can act as he chooses and cause mayhem. But I will just remind us from a previous reading, try as they might, these two devils will not succeed. The current updates is Hannah possibly involved in a scam. She was in the scam herself, but then possibly got scammed herself. What's going on? The third episode that I released recently, after that, fairly immediately afterwards, I received a message, they tricked me. Out of spirit, there is evidence of a double cross. So I checked. So if she was tricked, is there evidence of her being tricked? And there's 2911-2, which speaks about years at year. So this is her arriving. There's a hidden 2911 the day after. So let's be clear. On the 8th, she arrives. November 9th is when all the messaging comes out about money, losing identity. And here's the evidence here. Hidden 2911-2 double cross. And that would be in the +9 of the day after, or the day of her saying her identity's been stolen, money's gone. On that day, in the +9, there's a 2911-2 double cross. And it's the same day we find a 3710-1. So unfortunately, someone was taken out here. Something's wrong here. I try to get more verification of. I also received someone was buried in the sand. Unfortunately. Now, I don't know if that's Hannah or if there's someone else that's been buried, but the message that I got was someone has been buried in the sand. The day Hannah goes allegedly into Mexico, November 12. We see the 14-5, so she's going to arrive there and find, bullshit. 14-5, and unfortunately there is a 22-4 here as well, which speaks about landfill, earth, I'm just going to check for... this is not good. You know, it keeps coming back that whether her relationship was so severely strained with her father, right? Surely she would have reached out to at least the aunt or someone. Something's gone very wrong here, unfortunately. And this stands true, unfortunately. They tricked me. There's evidence of a double cross. So that's me checking spirit now. Double cross, 2911-2. Someone buried in the sand. The day she gets into Mexico, we see that possibility is there. The curious case of Hannah Kobayashi and the passing of her father. Something has gone very horribly wrong there. And I'm going to say it again. There's a level of sophistication behind this scenario. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's Zayn, who was one of the founding members of One Direction, cancelled a concert this week, December the 3rd. So on that day, just looking at it now, so I'm looking at it raw. This one is particularly raw. But, you know, we can imagine and say he is still feeling the impacts of the issue with Liam's passing. So here again, we have a 12-3, 12-3 conflict. And in the +9, that would say there's a problem here. Are we seeing a rejection from him in some way? I would definitely say there's evidence of 24, 6, 15, 6. It's about Liam. It's related. The 16, 7 year is not such a good number. I hope he's got a real close group of friends or family. But there's evidence here that he's struggling with it. Conflict. There's a conflict here. And he was performing in the UK, so that there wouldn't be a visa issue, right? There's a 15-6 in the middle here. I don't like that 15-6 on the day. So the concert was meant to be 23-5, 14-5, so that is like a celebration party for songs, music, lyrics. I think he's in two minds about something here. He's in two minds about something here. And this has effectively happened within retrograde as well, hey? So this has been a long time coming, as it were. And when things happen in retrograde, that's why I've been shown so many times over the past 2 days, just stay calm, stay calm. We must just be calm, don't overreact, don't knee-jerk reactions this period until like around about the 20th for the shadow to be out, but 14, 15 December, but 20, 21 for shadow. Let's keep calm. Don't overreact. People are also going through the same thing that you are. It's almost like this retrograde feels for me like you're driving a car, you're driving your normal car, but for whatever reason during this time it's misfiring, so it's not performing like it should 100%, right? So we must remain humble in the presence of spirit, don't overreact, stay calm, and definitely don't cause shit during retrograde, right? But for this conflict and for him to cancel during retrograde, because it happened in retrograde, will have a long-standing impact and effect. Are we going to see any more future concerts being cancelled? I'm getting the hurry up from spirit. All right, so we'll keep an eye on Zane and just see what's going on there, because, look, we can agree that all 5 were very close for whatever reason, and whether they were all 100% close or not, that still needs to be determined of, and they know. But the impact will be lasting. What happened to Liam? And one could argue that the suspicious circumstances in which it happened as well. So, yeah, not good. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening today. And I really appreciate lending your ear, watching the videos. I appreciate all of you. I've recorded this very early in the morning because at around 10 a.m. The heater is going to be turned on, and it's been quite worse. We effectively having about 10 degrees higher than normal. You can agree that even a 1 or 2 or 3 degree changes a lot. So it gets to the point where you're kind of a bit numb. And of course, that drains the body as well. So drink up lots of waters. Australia, I believe, is also having their moment in the sun. And may you stay blessed and be guided by spirit. Take care. Bye for now.